So you're going, hey guys, I just got my PAL. What do I buy? I don't want any, Savage or Remington rifle. I want some milsurp. I want something interesting, right? So I figured I'd just make a short video, show you some cheaper to the more expensive stuff that I have, and then you can make a decision based off that, right? Now, a lot of people say, oh yeah, you should just get a 1022 to start with. I'm thinking, well, 1022 is probably good to start with, if you're okay with that, but you'll probably get kind of bored of 22 after a little while, right? So, the first one I would suggest is getting yourself an SKS. Now, you've got them everywhere. Even your local Cabela's would have them for like $200, $250 maybe. That's a little bit more expensive than what you should be paying, I guess. But SKS is as basic as it gets, right? You have 7.62x39 cartridge for it. Very cheap. You can buy it at a bunch of different stores in Canada for, say, I don't know, $300 for a crate of 1,400 rounds, and 1,400 will last you quite a while, right? So, might be a good choice to go for. They're very easy to find, very cheap. If you damage one, you're not gonna, start crying about it. Very easy to clean. It's got a very easy gas system and everything to work with. Something to keep in mind though is when you're buying a crate of, say, like 1,400 rounds or so, that's going to be all corrosive because you're buying from, say, Ukrainian or Czech or like Chinese surplus, and it's going to be dirty and it's going to be corrosive, so you want to clean it out after. Just make sure you clean it out. You're going, oh, I like the SKS, great, but I want a bolt action rifle and I want it to be cheap, like very cheap. You say, well, if you wanted to be like $200 cheap, you could go for the Maznagain. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's a fucking meme gun. Oh, it's terrible. Well, it's super cheap. Like this, you could probably get for about little over $200. It shoots 7.62x54, which is also something fairly cheap you can get here. I don't know. I like to buy little boxes of MFS, and it's pretty cheap. It's like $14 a box. No big deal. This is super easy to clean, super easy to keep. Mine's beat to shit before I even bought it. I didn't really care. But maybe you're saying, well, Maznagain's kind of cool, but I want something that's semi-automatic. We do have an option available to us in Canada, which is the SVT-40. Now, this is a great option available. You might not find it very easily in stores just because it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's drying up, but it's much easier to find one online. Make sure it comes with a magazine, because the magazines themselves cost like $100 just because they only came one per rifle. You only will ever see one if somebody's rifle is just beyond hope and they start selling off the parts. Now, it's in 7.62x54, but because of the muzzle brake, it feels like you're firing not a full-size rifle cartridge. It's fantastic. It has very little recoil to it for what you'd imagine for a full-size rifle. My maker friends south of the border are just a little bit jealous just because it's, import banned up there and they're not very many. It's pretty expensive. I'd say definitely go for it. Don't believe the guys that are like, oh, it's a shit rifle, it breaks itself apart, it's Fox and the Grapes kind of thing, right? It's got a little gas adjuster right here, and that'll make it so you can tune down the gas a little bit and the rifle won't beat itself to death. If you have it cranked right open, it'll beat itself apart, but only if you let it. Maybe you want a bolt action rifle still, but you don't want something as normal as, say, a Maznagain. Well, we also have the K31 available to us. You'll have a hard time finding these. They're a little bit uncommon. They are chambered in 7.5 Swiss, which is still in use today in the Swiss military. It comes in these big fucking black boxes that you might see once in a while in gun stores, and you're like, oh, that's what it's for. I understand now. It is a very clean cartridge, so you don't have to worry about corrosion or anything at all. It comes in here, and is a fantastic rifle. I love it. It's so accurate, and it has such a neat action with a magazine where it holds 6 rounds, which is not applicable to the magazine capacity restriction just because it's a manual action. To work the bolt, all you do is pull it back and it cycles on its own. You don't have to lift the bolt at all. It's pretty cool. They also come with a snow cap, which fits on just like this and protects the front sight post, and it also protects your rifle from getting snow in it, say if you fall in the Swiss mountains. About $350. The ammunition is very costly in comparison. It's maybe, I don't know, say 80 cents a round. So that big black box, it can cost just as much as the rifle. Next up for semi-automatic, we have the M305, which is a Norinco rifle. Now, Norinco went and bought out the tooling from Springfield to make M1A copies. This one you can pick up for maybe probably closer to $700 now. It is a rifle chambered in .308, so you can find ammunition pretty well anywhere. One thing you have to keep in mind when you're buying the M305 is that the front sight posts tend to be way off center. It's canted, which is just a problem that's common for those. So if it really bothers you, that's something to really look for when you're buying a new one. Now if you want an intermediate caliber rifle that's a little bit different, you can get the T97. Now it is the civilian export model of the Kibi Z95 that the Chinese military currently uses. It's got a proprietary rail on it, so you'd have to get an adapter for it to mount something for Picatinny if you want. It has a Stanag magwell, so you're able to fit Stanags into it. Now you have to be very careful because some Stanags it is not happy with. It just does not like them. So when you go and buy the rifle, if you do, make sure that you can test out some magazines to see if it'll hold it in the magwell. Hopefully the shop owner will understand. Now another thing is that it seems like it's made for lefties, because if you try doing it when you're right-handed, the mag release is right here, the safety is right here. It might be a little bit awkward for some people. So if you're lefty, it's very easy to use the rifle. Now, some people have fantastic experience with these, some don't. A friend of mine, he has feed ramp issues, so it jams a lot. Mine, no issues whatsoever, and I kind of feel bad for him when it doesn't cycle properly. Now something to keep in mind is that because it has a Stanag magwell, you can use a AR pistol magazine. Now remember that the magazine capacity is intended for, well, it applies to what the magazine is intended for and not what it fits in. So it is a AR pistol magazine. It has a 10 round capacity. You can use it in here. Fits no problem. You can have 10 rounds. Next up is by far my favorite semi-automatic rifle I've ever owned, which is the VZIP 58. Sort of looks like an AK if you're not familiar with rifles. It shares nothing in common with the AK. When the Russians told the Czechs to design a rifle, they just kind of gave the Russians a middle finger and made absolutely everything proprietary for the Czechs, just because they didn't want to make an AK. Now, it is a detachable magazine with a bolt hole open and it's a stripper clip guide. So you can feed it with stripper clips, which is great because with Canadian law, you're going to have to be reloading quite frequently, and it's nice to use stripper clips once in a while. You can buy the ammo super cheap since it's 760 by 39. You can buy the crates at like 1,400 rounds like you can with the SKS. Just make sure you clean it really well. The newer ones, I don't know if it's the same with the older ones, but they have the side is tapped, so you're able to stick a rail onto it, a side mount rail that you can stick a Picatinny mount on it. It's a fantastic rifle. If you want to buy one and you have a little bit more money than you want to spend on an SKS, definitely buy VZIP 58. By far my favorite. It may look like an AK to somebody who doesn't know rifles very well, but it has absolutely no parts in common at all. Fucking trains.